It's all your fault.
How Richard detectives that.
Commissioner.
Calm down, it not.
Margaret had worked as executive assistant to David Chun for 12 years. 12 long years of organizing his calendar, managing his calls, keeping a professional life running smoothly. She was 58 now, a widow of 6 years, her children grown and living their own lives in different cities. David was 42, brilliant, driven, recently divorced. That evening, the company Christmas party had gone later than usual. Margaret was about to leave when she noticed David at the bar, his tie loosened, his usually sharp eyes unfocused. She had never seen him like this. He was drinking whiskey, one glass after another, and she could see the pain beneath his composed exterior. The divorce had been finalized just 3 weeks ago. Margaret approached quietly. "David," she said softly, "perhaps it's time to head home." He looked up at her, and for a moment she saw not her boss, but a man carrying too much weight on his shoulders. "Margaret," he said, his words slightly slurred, "did you know I forgot my wedding anniversary 3 years in a row?" That's what she told the judge. 3 years. Margaret gently took the glass from his hand. "Let me call you a car." "No," he said, standing unsteadily. "I drove here. I can drive home." "Absolutely not," Margaret said firmly. She had raised 2 sons. She knew that tone was non-negotiable. She called a taxi, and when it arrived, David could barely stand. The driver looked uncertain. "Ma'am, if he gets sick in my cab." "I'll sit with him," Margaret said. "I'll make sure he gets home safely." The ride took 30 minutes. David leaned against the window, mumbling about contracts and deadlines and how he let everyone down. Margaret said nothing, just placed a steadying hand on his shoulder. When they reached his apartment building, she helped him out of the car, supporting his weight as they made their way to the elevator. At his door, he fumbled with his keys. Margaret took them gently and opened the door. Inside, the apartment was immaculate but cold, barely lived in. She guided him to the couch. David collapsed onto it, his head in his hands. "I ruined everything," he whispered. "No," Margaret said quietly. "You just lost your way for a while. We all do sometimes." She found a blanket, covered him, left a glass of water and aspirin on the coffee table. Before she left, she paused at the door. David had already fallen asleep, one arm draped over his eyes. Margaret locked the door behind her and took another taxi home. The next morning, Margaret arrived at the office at 8 sharp. As always, she prepared David's coffee, black with 1 sugar, organized the contracts he needed to review. At 9:15, David walked in. Margaret looked up, expecting awkwardness, perhaps embarrassment. But David walked straight to her desk, and his eyes were clear, focused, and filled with something she couldn't quite name. "Margaret," he said quietly. "Thank you." She nodded, about to brush it off with her usual efficiency. David held up his hand. "No," he said, "please let me finish. Last night, you could have left me at that bar. You could have let me make a fool of myself, drive home and possibly hurt myself or someone else. Instead, you stayed. You got me home safely. You treated me with dignity when I had none left." Margaret felt her throat tighten. David continued, his voice steady. "I remember everything. The taxi ride, the things I said, how patient you were. For 12 years you have been the backbone of this office, and I have never properly thanked you for your dedication, your kindness, your wisdom." He paused. "I want to do something, and I hope you'll accept. Effective immediately, I'm promoting you to Chief Operations Officer, full executive benefits, corner office, and a salary that reflects what you're actually worth to this company." Margaret stared at him, speechless. "David, you deserve this," he said gently, "not because of last night, but because you've earned it 100 times over. Last night just reminded me how blind I've been." Tears filled Margaret's eyes. In all her years of working, through raising children and losing her husband and showing up every single day, no one had ever seen her like this. "Thank you," she whispered. David smiled, a real smile, perhaps the first genuine one she had seen in months. "No, Margaret. Thank you for reminding me that success means nothing without kindness, and that the people who hold us together when we're falling apart are the ones who truly matter." From that day forward, their working relationship transformed into a true partnership built on mutual respect. And sometimes, Margaret thought, the most profound changes in life come not from grand gestures, but from simple acts of human decency in moments when someone needs it most. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more stories about kindness, wisdom, and the connections that define our lives. Leave a comment telling us about a time someone showed you unexpected kindness. Your story might inspire someone else today.